Klaudia Kryczka, coming to you with our virtual newscast from Humber College. It's Thursday, June 17th. Here's what's making news. For many in the province, it's a race to receive the second COVID-19 vaccine. While overall new infection rates have slowed, concerns about the Delta variant taking hold has Ontario making a push to reach more of the population quickly. Lineups like these have been the scene at pop-up vaccine clinics all over the province. On Monday, Ontario announced accelerated eligibility for second doses, including those whose first shot was AstraZeneca. People started lining up at dawn, with some centers running out of vaccines by noon. While the push has been for the second dose, some who had waited are now coming out to get their first.
I'm pretty behind, so most people I know have already done it. Maybe a bit more comfortable taking it.
Vaccine appointments also increased through the government's online booking portal, with people moving quickly through clinics like this one at the Toronto Congress Centre. For many, along with the second jab, comes a sigh of relief.
I feel like I can do anything now because, I got my second dose.
The effort is part of the push to stay ahead of the Delta variant to be able to lift restrictions further across the province. Under the province's Roadmap to Reopen plan, the steps to loosening restrictions are based in part on percentages of people vaccinated. With the rollout picking up steam, there's optimism the province will move into step 2 of the reopening plan sooner than expected. Humber reporter Victoria Meyer has the details.
For these Torontonians, spinning their wheels in a shared outdoor class is welcome relief. The spin class is newly allowed with the loosening of restrictions as the economy begins to reopen. For restaurants who've had their doors closed for months, welcoming guests to patios is at least a start for the summer season. The Premier says he wants to consult with the province's top doctors to see if Step 2 of reopening might happen earlier than July 2nd and is contingent on 70% of adults having a first dose and 20% having a second. The Premier shared the progress to date on Twitter. Step 2 allows for indoor gatherings of 5 people, outdoor gatherings of 25 people, and permits the limited reopening of amusement parks like Canada's Wonderland. The park will have safety protocols in place and crowds will be just a quarter of what they normally are.
This isn't going to be the same Wonderland experience that everybody will remember. We are opening with limited capacity, so there will be fewer people in the park. And the way we're doing that is with a reservation system. So everybody's going to need to book their day of visit and their time of arrival.
Canada's Wonderland is set to open on July 7th, and online reservations for tickets opened earlier this week. For Humber News, I'm Victoria Meyer.
Ontario has also announced it will be the first province to issue a mandatory vaccine policy for all staff in long-term care homes. The goal is to promote full immunization among long-term care workers, but some Toronto staff are still facing barriers when it comes to getting their vaccine. Humber reporter Danielle Dupuis has more.
A new mandatory COVID-19 immunization policy for long-term care facilities doesn't mean staff have to be vaccinated. It's just a way to help further protect those who are vulnerable. Staff members will be required to do one of 3 things: show their vaccination dates, provide a medical reason for not getting vaccinated, or attend an educational program on the risks associated with not being vaccinated and the benefits of vaccination.
The mandatory vaccine policy doesn't, and this is where there's a lot of misconception, it doesn't mean that staff members have to be vaccinated. It just means that these long-term care homes have to have a policy around it.
Staff members will not be fired for not getting vaccinated, as it is their choice, and proper consent needs to be there. Family Councils Ontario agreed staff members cannot be forced into the jab.
You've got families and residents who want to know that the people providing hands-on care are vaccinated. You've also got staff who, like all Ontarians, have bodily autonomy. We can't vaccinate people against their will. That would be contrary not only to law, but our sense of ethics and morality.
The Family Council's main concern is staff need to remember where they are working.
We need to consent and not be under duress, but also recognizing that they're working in a healthcare setting and that they're caring for medically fragile older adults.
As of May 30th, it's estimated that across Ontario, 97% of long-term care residents are fully vaccinated, and more than 89% of staff have received at least their first dose, with approximately 66% fully immunized. But there is still more to be done for those staff who don't have access.
They don't have the supports to get vaccinated. It's no secret that these PSWs or some of the kitchen staff there, the housekeeping staff, they work paycheck to paycheck. They just couldn't risk taking those 1 or 2 days off work to do that. And even then, with the paid sick day program that came in, it's through WSIB. It's very slow. It's not guaranteed.
Johnson says more options need to be in place for those staff members as they do want the shot. The policy will be in place for nursing homes like this throughout the province starting July 1st. Humber News, I'm Danielle Dupuis. Back to you, Klaudia.
Thanks, Danielle. While overall cases have diminished in most of the province, one Northern Ontario community has been hit hard by a new outbreak. The Kashechewan First Nation near James Bay reports 232 active COVID-19 cases, the majority of which are children under 12 who have not yet been eligible for vaccinations. Elders say the situation is compounded by overcrowded homes with dangerous levels of mold and limited access to safe water in the small community. Kashechewan now accounts for a quarter of active cases among all Indigenous communities across the country. In response, the federal government is sending 30 Canadian Rangers and nurses to join the 16 Red Cross workers already on the ground. And the country is still mourning following the tragic discovery of children's remains at a former residential school in Kamloops, British Columbia. The discovery confirms what many residential school survivors have claimed for decades. This week, the Ontario government pledged support for future Indigenous-led investigations. While stacks of shoes still line the steps of former residential school sites, the Ontario government has made a new announcement. This week, Doug Ford committed $10 million in funding towards the identification and investigation of burial sites at former residential schools in the province. One member of the Neokamekoaning First Nation responded positively to the announcement.
It is incredibly painful to relive, especially for survivors and our families who have bravely been telling us the truth for decades. But truth be told, it has impacted every First Nation member throughout this land we call Canada.
In preliminary work done by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, 12 unmarked burial sites have been found in Ontario.
As a society, we can no longer hide behind the past or deny the realities of what happened in Canada. We must admit the crimes of the past and actively work towards ensuring that this no longer buried truth.
Members of First Nation communities are encouraged by the funding to find their missing children and bring light on what exactly happened. More than 20 wildfires are raging across northwest Ontario, with fires of note located near the Nipigon district. Forest firefighters from Alberta and British Columbia have joined fire rangers in the northwest region. There have been nearly 350 wildfires in Ontario so far this year, well above the 10-year average of more than 200 fires a season, which runs from April through October. Fire crews are mounting a significant response to a number of forest fires located near Nipigon. Wildland fires caused by human activities is mainly high across the region, with isolated pockets of extreme hazard in Fort Frances, Red Lake, and Sioux lookout sectors.
So we've had more fires than the 10-year average, but less hectares burned, just so if you want to talk about stats. And really a lot of the number of fires we've had the last several weeks, we've had lightning come through the province, and that started fires basically across the landscape.
An implementation order is in effect that restricts access and use of certain roads and crown lands in the region. All travel, use, and access to the affected areas are prohibited unless authorized by a travel permit issued by the Nipigon District Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. Here in Toronto, the city's LGBTQ+ community is still reeling from an alleged attack on one of their own. The victim was assaulted on his way home from Hamlin's Point Beach last week. The assailants hurled homophobic insults at David Gomez before physically attacking him, leaving him unconscious with several broken bones. A GoFundMe campaign has raised almost $50,000 for the victim. Police are still looking for suspects and have asked for any witnesses to come forward. One Toronto historian points out the significance of this incident occurring near such a historically important place to Toronto's LGBTQ+ community.
When you have people who are going to Hanlon's Point, which is, as far as I'm concerned, sacred ground for queers in Toronto. 1971, first Pride picnic was at Hanlon's. And so when you have queer bashing happening there, we have to stand up against that. We have a historical responsibility to stand up against violence, to stand up against homophobia.
As Pride Month continues in Toronto, Ontario's Minister of Education has announced a new initiative to support LGBTQ+ students. This initiative includes $80,000 in funding for targeted mental health counseling in schools and financial partnerships with community organizations. Also, an update on last week's attack in London, Ontario. Prosecutors have laid terrorism charges against a 20-year-old man accused of killing 4 members of a Muslim family with his pickup truck. The new charges were approved by federal and provincial prosecutors under Section 83 of the Criminal Code. The charges place an additional burden of proof on prosecutors but are not expected to affect a potential sentence. The accused was already facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. He will appear in court next Monday on June 21st. For many, working from home during the pandemic has been more time to spend with their pets, with some even welcoming new pets into their family. But for others, financial struggles over the past year have made keeping a pet difficult. One local pet food program is aiming to fix that. Humber reporter Irena Homenko has more.
Bonding with pets has been one of the biggest joys for many owners during the pandemic. Dog parks like these have been more full than ever. But for some, financial struggles may even mean having to give up their furry family members. The Toronto Humane Society's Pet Food Bank is offering help. The service is completely anonymous, meaning pet owners don't have to give their contact information or explain their situation.
We really want people to know that when they're struggling and they're facing a hardship, that they can turn to an organization and be able to receive the help that they need free of judgment.
Food is available for dogs, cats, and other animals, and there is no limit to the amount. The program's aim is to protect the human-animal bond, especially during these isolating times.
We're not just helping that person and that pet, keeping them in the best place possible, which is a loving home, but then we're also freeing up space in our shelter to bring in animals who are homeless and who do need to find forever homes.
And the organization is asking the public to help out. Donations of food or money can be made through the Toronto Humane Society website.
That's all for today. I'm Klaudia Kryczka. Humber News is written and produced by students in the journalism program. For more coverage, visit our website, humbernews.ca, and follow us on Twitter @HumberJRNL. We'll see you next time.